you're queer, you're pretty liberal. If it made you more famous, would you ever do Joe Rogan? They always say, Jay, would you do Joe Rogan? Would you do Joe Rogan? And my answer, yes, I would do Joe Rogan. I don't mean the podcast. I would fuck that man. Yeah, exactly. And the only reason I would do it is to show his fans sexuality is a spectrum. And because it's the most alpha thing you can do. And he would love it.
Wait, so how did you start the throuple? Can you say that?
Oh, yeah, I can say that.
Okay, tell us.
Oh,
I love a throuple. I feel like I would be perfect in a throuple, Jay.
Yeah?
And it's a tragedy that I have not been invited into one yet.
Why haven't you?
I don't know.
You don't have to be
I'm
invited.
amazing.
You could start your own.
Well, that too. I feel like I would be better at being a third because it's the better one.
Well,
but you tell me.
Well, usually, this is usually what happens.
Yeah.
I think that when you're talking about like poly relationships and like what you're looking for, are you looking for a couple or are you looking for a person? That person happens to be poly, because that's a little different. Because some people are out there just looking for couples, which is different, and some people are just looking for people, and the person who they meet happens to be in a relationship, and then they vibe with both of those people, and so then there's kind of a discovery period. So what would you want, Ray?
I've done the thing where I've done the second one, or like I kind of was flirting with the girl, and then like her boyfriend came in, and then we were doing a thing, and that was fine, but it wasn't like a throuple.
Yeah.
You know, I never felt like we were together as a unit in the third unit.
Yeah.
So, and I've done like a little bit of poly where I had a partner and then I was being with other women. But yeah, so I want the first one.
You want the first one?
I want the first one. I want a full throuple experience. I want to talk to both of them at the end of the night, and I want to tell them about my day, and I want them to buy me 2 sets of flowers.
Well, okay, now we're getting into what you actually want, which is attention. Yes. Attention, which is good. I think more people should be vocal about that.
A stand-up comedian wants attention? What?
I think that like my experience when it comes to any sort of like poly situation or being in a throuple, I think that communication, people always say communication is key, but communication it's like 100% of the arguments is just making sure that, because even when you kind of described I guess just the threesome experience with like a guy and his girl, like even that is still like 100% okay. What's happening every time that you introduce like another person into like a sexual or romantic situation? It's not addition. It's like it's exponents. Like it's like it's to the nth power.
Exponentially complicated communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened with your third?
I mean, what happened with my third? It was I don't like the past tense.
Oh, what's happening with your third?
No, it's not that. It's not what happened. It's that like I think that whenever people ask me, because it was the first time that was even like an option, because I think it was like my now husband and I have been together long enough, and like we felt comfortable with each other, and we also felt comfortable like expressing and exploring. I think the pandemic and then kind of cross country stuff like doesn't always work out. So I think that's kind of whenever you start to go, oh, okay, like, so is this gonna be like a new version of a relationship? Because I've had exes in the past where like, you know, you have an ex and people go, oh, what's that now? And you go, oh, I don't know. Let me actually investigate what my relationship is with them. You know, like, because everyone thinks, and a lot of times there is like a hard, like, okay, cut off. Yeah. We're not even speaking anymore. But then sometimes it's like, oh, we're still friends. And sometimes it's like, oh, I still have feelings for them. And then sometimes it's like, oh, you know what? This just evolved into something that's less rigid.
Makes sense.
Welcome to Yenta, everybody. The podcast that's sometimes about comedy, sometimes about queers, and always about gossip.
Ooh.
I'm Ray Schiller.
I'm Antonia Lassar.
And today we have
Jay Jurden.
What's up?
I can't believe we have Jay. I can't believe it.
It's crazy.
It's really nuts.
I mean, viewer, you know Jay Jurden. If you're listening,
because he's
you know
literally
his voice.
Famous. No, I'm not famous.
Yes, you are, dude.
LA reminds me every second that I'm not famous. And that's one of the good things about this place. This place will humble you like that in an instant. Those two Russian ladies downstairs, they didn't know who I was.
Yeah, that's right.
They didn't know at all.
And you're ugly.
Yeah.
So that's just my LA coming out.
Okay,
too far, Antonia.
Yeah, Antonia, I'm not going to push back because this is my first time here. I would love to be welcome back, but I am a lot of things. Some New Yorkers, they come to New York and they go, some New Yorkers come to LA and they go, oh, I feel so ugly. I've never had that feeling here. Ever. No, people go to LA, they come back to New York, they go, oh, I was hideous out there. I go, I felt the same. Actually, I felt better because more people were like, what's up? You look like you belong. I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, your face is like an LA face.
Oh,
it's just so pretty.
Insults early.
No, that's a compliment.
No, this is an LA face, and this is what you need to have a face in LA. You have to have like big eyes. You have to have like big teeth. And then you kind of have to have enough facial real estate to be on camera. So like if your face is small, that's what you see a celebrity in real life. 9 times out of 10, you go, they got a big fucking face. And it's because people it's people like, it's going to sound like I'm making fun of them. But so like any celebrity that has like big eyes on camera, you go, oh my gosh, great eyes. But in person, you go, that's too much. It's like when you see a model and someone says that model's striking, and then you see them in person, and you go, whoa, that's what that means.
A weird face.
Every
weird
so
hot.
often.
Yeah.
Weird hot.
But weird.
Just a little weird.
And people like that.
Celebrity skin is what really gets to me.
Ooh.
Like, when I see skin that's that glassy and smooth
and
in
wet.
Real life and wet.
They're all
like
dewy. I got called dewy on set yesterday.
See, I
by
told
the
you.
makeup lady. Yeah.
Because you were on a little show called Taylor Tomlinson
after
midnight.
That's
not what it's called.
That's what it's called.
That's not what it's called.
That's what it's called in everyone's head.
Ray was like, you were on the Taylor Tomlinson show. And I was like, sure, yeah. I was on After Midnight. I mean,
that's awesome.
Weekend TV Magic, it filmed yesterday. Mm-hmm. It comes out tonight. That's all I can say. It was fun. The crowd is great. It's a really cool show. It's a panel show, which America needs more of. Mm-hmm. You can put 3 comedians on a show at the same time. Do it more.
Okay, this is a real Yenta question.
Okay.
That you don't have to answer.
No, I'll answer. I'll answer so much. I'll answer so many questions.
How many of the prompts did you know before?
Prompts?
Like the little games that she does.
Oh, so you get to do the show, and you as a comedian can go in the moment and or prepared. So you get a little bit of like but you can also like do stuff in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you get all of the games all the questions.
You don't
she's
get all
ask.
of them.
Okay.
Some of them, because they want the element to be like both real and like kind of like prepared. Just because some people who go on aren't comedians.
That's true.
They're like kind of comedy adjacent, or they're just like friends with CBS Paramount. So it's like one of those situations where
like
you don't want to really.
Greenfield.
Well, listen, I'm not saying anyone's name.
Well, that's not a bad thing. See, that's Yenta.
Yeah. So
he was great. We love him. He's
love
America's sweetheart.
So like they don't want to really throw people under the bus, I think.
Yeah. That's good. Okay.
Yeah. You get like a mix. Also, as a comic, you're always like, what can I say? What will CBS cut?
Yeah. And did they give you a list of restrictions?
They kind of tell you go CBS friendly, and then you go, but this is the latest show on CBS, so it's after Colbert. So then you're like, so what can I get away with? And they're like, like, we'll see tonight. I made a joke about head, about getting head, and I said head in it, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if it made the cut.
Wow.
Juicy.
I
Listeners,
hope it did.
yeah, check it out.
I don't know your head. I feel like you've had jokes on late night that are about head.
Oh, well, yes. That's actually, wow, you remember.
Jay, I know your shit.
No,
I'm not faking.
Antonio Ray's talking about, I have one joke where I have, basically, I say, the line is, that's Todd. I didn't recognize him standing up.
Oh,
and it's like a dirty, fun, oral sex joke that made it through NBC standards and practices for the Tonight Show. I think it was like my second Tonight Show. And I was like, they're really gonna let me say it. And on the tape I go, I'm surprised y'all let me get away with that one. Yeah. And I didn't, that wasn't like in the, like, that wasn't in like the kind of like the script that I sent them. That wasn't in the transcript. That wasn't on the cue card. But I said it in rehearsal, and then the booker was like,
Michael Cox?
Yeah. Well, you just know all the gossip.
Wait, is that a bad thing to say?
No, it's not a bad thing.
Okay.
But like the fact that you know.
I know him.
That's gossip.
He saw my tape.
That's right.
That's gossip.
Yeah.
This is why we're
Yenta.
here. No, but like Michael was like, are you gonna say that? And like, cause you do rehearsal.
Which line? The standing up line or the I can't believe you let me get away with it line?
I'm surprised you let me get away with that one. So always do rehearsal. I always do rehearsal whenever I do a late night spot. Some people don't want to do rehearsal. I love going full out on rehearsal.
How could you not rehearse that?
Who do you rehearse with? Empty audience?
Ooh, so it's not fully empty. It's the crew. It's staff. It's like kind of like the people who are going to be filming it. And they're also a really good barometer to see, okay, can I really like surprise people with this one? Yeah. And you kind of want to see even like what it feels like to say it right there to those chairs in real time in that space. That's a big deal for me. So I always take rehearsal, and it got a big laugh out of the camera crew. And so when Michael Cox, who, you know,
who's my best friend.
Who's your best friend?
I'm going to text him.
When Michael Cox said, or you should say that during the show, I was like, okay, I will. And so once again, the crowd was even surprised, because sometimes you get away with kind of dirty stuff. Like I always am trying to always like be like, oh, what could I get away with? Like that's one of my favorite things to do at late night. And so when I did it, I was like, oh, okay, fun. So yeah, I mean, that was like one head joke that got through, because that's essentially an oral sex joke.
What was Jimmy Fallon like?
He was nice. He's very nice.
Did he come up to you before? He
comes up to you every time you do the show. He talks to you in your dressing room, and like he truly does remember you, and he also remembers other comics. So like I talked about my friend Mike Rowland, who was on, I won't say who was on like a little bit before I was, my second time, and he was like, oh, we love Mike, and so he's a good dude. It sucks whenever a salacious story comes out about a TV host, because it's happened to me twice now, where like there's like a story that's like, this person is terrible, and then people, no, not me.
No, okay, good.
No, so what happens is a story comes out in like Rolling Stone or Variety or whatever, and so then they'll be like, oh, Jay, you did late night there. How were they to you? And I was talent, so I can't speak to the day happenings. Yeah. So then I look like an apologist, because I was like, they were lovely to me. And everyone's like, Jay, you can't say that. I was like, but they were so nice to me.
And that's problematic of you.
Yeah, it is.
To say that and not be an ally.
You're complicit.
That's why y'all brought me here. Yeah.
But it would just be crazy of, not to name names, but James Corden to harass every single person who came across his path. Like, that would be asshole overtime. Is that who we're talking about?
Well, yeah. Because that was another story where someone asked me a question. Like someone asked me a question after they saw me do Corden. They were like, well, how was he? And like, I could see them be so disappointed when I was like, he was lovely. They were like, no, Jay, tell us the truth. I was like, he was great. He laughed a lot. We hung out afterwards.
Okay.
We both like kicked a waiter. It was like fun.
He showed you his ways of yelling at a staff.
No. And that's the thing. Like,
prodigy.
It's just hard. It's very hard sometimes when people want to confirm gossip.
Yeah.
And you're like, I wish I had something. Like the big thing that I knew before everyone else. Ooh, this is
okay.
Ooh. The big thing I knew before everyone else, I knew about Jerrod Carmichael before he came out because a friend of a friend asked me about a Grindr hookup who said they were a comedian because they were trying to get recon on them, and I was one of the few comedians they knew. So good. Then they went,
amazing.
Oh, yeah, he says he's a comedian. I was like, I mean, like, okay, who? And they were like, he says he's like working on this NBC thing at one point. I was like, who? Wait a second, who are you talking about? And they just kept like basically a game of guess who. I was like, black guy? And they're like, yeah. I was like, gay. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, comedian? And they're like, yeah. They were like, he's here for a little bit, but he's actually based in LA. I was like, okay. And they're like, oh, I think he works for an NBC show, or he had an NBC show. And then I was like, Jerrod Carmichael? Your friend's fucking Jerrod Carmichael?
Oh my God.
And so, yeah, I knew that before everyone. So much so, someone came up to me one time right before Nathaniel came out, and they were like, you know what his next special is going to be about. And because I was a little drunk, I was like, is he finally going to come out? And they were like, oh, you know? And I was like, oh, all right. Well, let that be their journey.
Yeah.
Are you friends with him?
No, not at all. We don't. I mean, like, this sounds terrible, but no, we have some mutual people who we know, but we're not friends.
There was a similar comedian that was like a very famous Jewish comedian that all these Orthodox Jews know that was gay.
Yes.
That is gay. But
yes.
None of the Orthodox...
Would
you know him, Modi?
I think you were.
Yeah, I know Modi.
Oh, yeah.
I know Modi.
So
yeah.
all the comedians knew he was gay.
Yeah.
But none of the audience knew he was gay.
None of his fans. None of his fan
fans.
Base. Yeah. Well,
but he just came out, and they're still his fans. So
yeah.
Hey, look at that.
And he came out in a way that people used to come out. Modi didn't just come out. Modi, he came out with a super hot young husband.
Yes.
Which, like... People, sometimes they come out and you go, I hope you find love. And sometimes people come out and they go, that's okay. Now I get it. At first I thought you were hypothetically gay. I didn't know you were doing it on expert mode. He's got this hot, young, cute, tattooed, muscly Italian husband.
So muscly.
Yeah.
I know. I think
Leo's
all the
hot.
Orthodox
Leo's
Jews.
so hot. Leo's so hot. Yeah.
So hot.
Hi, Leo.
Antonia knows Leo.
Oh, yeah.
Only kind of. We've been talking recently.
Oh, yeah?
About
yeah.
working together.
Sending
Because I'm touring synagogues.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Modi 10 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't know. Someone told me Modi was gay. And I remember I like looked at him and I was like, yeah. But you
didn't know before.
Well, it's not that I didn't know before.
Or you
it's
couldn't
that
tell.
Now for me, after, I don't know, being out since I was 20, if someone says someone else is gay, there's not a world where I go, impossible. Mm-hmm. I like look at them and go, yeah, I see it. And it could even be a person who someone's like, can you believe that girl? Be like, listen, I've seen so many different type of gays. I'm not putting it past anyone.
That's right. And we need more representation for just ugly, unfashionable.
No. We need what's the best way to say this? We need more people who.
Do you hear that?
There's
a loud dot. It can't be me. It's the building is fucked up. It's those Russian ladies that you saw in the elevator.
They're starting fires.
They're coming for you.
No, I don't want to start a fight with them. They're Russian old ladies. They've been through way more than I can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a real Yenta question for you.
Let's do it.
Okay. You've been on the Tonight Show 3 times.
Too many times.
James Corden.
Yes.
You write for X-Men.
I wrote an X-Men comic.
You wrote. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's so different.
It is a little different.
You were nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah, the show was. Yeah.
why are you doing our podcast?
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah, why?
Ray asked me. Ray asked me at Netflix at the Joke Fest, and I was like, of course. Also,
I think he was drunk.
Yeah, of course.
I think I took advantage of you.
Listen, if you are watching, if you have a podcast, get that person drunk off a free drink. The one free drink at the Netflix is a joke after party Palladium hang.
Yeah, and I paid for those for you.
Yeah, and by paid for it, you mean
you're welcome.
It was free. It was a comp drink for everyone. Make sure they also took an edible that night. And
did you?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
And then say yes, and then...
No, what happened was I saw you at the bar. It was like kind of early in the night, and so there were less people there. I think you had like less of your posse there.
I don't have a posse.
Oh, Jay, stop. You're so important and famous.
It's so funny
I
that
saw
you think
I saw you and I was like, I'm such a big fan. And you're like, really?
I definitely was like, I'm a
really
nobody. Well, because what happens is that feeling never goes away in comedy. So like, yeah, like I'll like list my accomplishments, but because like the goalposts shift so much, like y'all care about the Tonight Show 3 times. Y'all care about coordinating. Y'all care about writing for the Prom with Jon Stewart. There's so many people who are comedy fans. If I told them I did the Tonight Show 3 times, they'd be like, yeah, doesn't everyone do that? I'd be like, no. No, what are you talking about? They'd be like, well, how many times have you been on Kill Tony? And I'll be like, you know what? We just live in 2 different worlds. And like, I'm friends with, I like met Cam at Moon Tower, and so like it's just so many different ways to be a comedy fan now that accolades truly they like shift as far as like target demos.
I hear that. What are you looking at as like what you want to be? Your thing's shifted. Like if our thing is you, if we want to be you, who do you want to be?
Who do I want to be? Who has a career that I would want?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's a good question.
I mean John Mulaney.
Oh, we saw him at the bowl.
He
was.
Were you there?
I was there for the festival, and I'm very good friends with the warm-up comic who was there, Mandel. Yeah, Tevin Mandel.
He was great.
He's one of the silliest and funniest people I've ever met in my entire life. I've known him since 2019, and whenever we link up, he makes me scream laugh. He makes me scream. We were hanging out, and he was talking about sometimes now, some comedy fans, they have ulterior motives, and they have ulterior motives, and this one comedian who's like a pretty girl, she said, sometimes these guys, they slide in my DMs and say they want to come to a comedy show, but they just want to see my tits. And Mandel said, listen, if someone slid in my DMs and said, hey, I'm only at the shows for your belly, I might show it. It's a ticket. A ticket is a ticket. And so when he said that, I was like, man, I love you. So yeah, John Mulaney has a career that it's not like a bad envy. It's like ooh, that's so good. He's done so many things.
Yeah.
He's good in so many different mediums. I love him. I'm glad everyone's obsessed with him again. I'm glad that people are being nice to him again. Jesus Christ, the year that Mulaney fans have had. So he's done
top.
a lot of stuff that I like.
I heard shoot, I can't remember who it was now.
Is this gossip?
No, it was like Neil Brennan. Yeah. And I remembered. Neil Brennan was on a pod, and he was just like,
was on your pod?
Yeah, sure.
Neil Brennan was here?
No.
All the time.
I love that guy.
He hangs out with the Russian ladies.
Yeah. No, he was just like, Mulaney is the kind of comic that makes you want to quit comedy because he's so good, and you're just like, I can't. He just like yawns comedy.
He's also like he's funny. He's marketable. Yeah. I've been saying this for years. I'm glad people finally caught up with me. He's hot. He's hot.
He is.
And all of the people who don't think he's hot, he's been hot. He's been hot for so long. Y'all's brains have been poisoned. I don't know what y'all thought hot was. He's hot.
I think he became hot.
You're so brave.
I'm brave. Yeah. That tall white man with money, I think he's kind of attractive.
Stand up for him. He had a glow up though recently. I don't know if you noticed at the Hollywood Bowl. His hair is longer. His jaw is more square. Like, I think Olivia Munn has been working on it.
What, secretly giving him jaw filler? What yes. No, the hair looks great. People love the hair. Yeah. He's also, you know what it is, and people can smell it. He's a daddy. He's a literal daddy now. Got that post baby glow. A lot of people who like men, they kind of go, "What's that?"
That's so annoying.
What's going on there? And you go, "Oh, you have responsibilities now? Ugh, I need it." Yeah.
And for women, it's just the opposite.
No,
they're just like, "Oh, she's dried up."
This is kind of I'm one of those weird, cool bisexual guys who's like, "A mom? Ooh, that's kind of hotter." Like, yeah. It's
also brave.
Yeah. Listen.
Wait, let's talk about your bisexuality.
Oh Lord, you can ask me anything about that.
Okay, great. What's the last woman that you had sex with?
Ooh. Okay, y'all are gonna.
You said anything.
People are gonna lose it. A married woman.
In a non-ethical, non-monogamous way, or an ethical?
In an ethical, non-monogamous way.
All right.
But that's still,
that's good.
That's way hotter than just
a woman.
When did it happen?
Ooh.
Where did it happen?
Okay, so whenever I have hooked up with that married couple, it's always been at their place, which is like kind of like really like. It's happened enough times that he's been there. The husband has been there, you know, a couple of the times, and then sometimes it's just been me and her. But like the coolest part about it, and I'll say this: the coolest part about it is not the hookup's amazing. The part that really kind of blows my mind is like whenever I tell the front desk guy I'm there, and he's like, he like knows. That to me is like kind of cool.
What does he do?
Well,
you just see it in his eyes.
Well, you just kind of go, "Oh yeah," like and
he like hands you the condoms.
No. But like, it's like just one of those things where like front desk people, like they know everything.
Yeah,
they know all the hookups.
We should have one of them on the pod. They would have great Yenta.
They know all the stuff. So yeah, that was the last woman. I think that like. The hard part for people when it comes to like bisexuality, the way like I present it is that because like I'm married to a man, people will be like, "But what?" I'll be like, "Yeah, still."
No, but I love that.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. And I want to talk about you having sex with women more.
Oh yeah, okay. We can talk about it. Started.
What do you like about it?
It started when I was 16, in the most American way possible after prom. So I lost my virginity after junior prom to a cheerleader.
Okay,
she wasn't a virgin. I was. Hotel room.
Wow.
Our friends.
Expensive.
No, so like expensive enough, but like our friend group, one of them had like a hookup at the hotel. So like the hotel was where the prom after party was gonna be, and so like. I think everyone kind of went to their respective rooms and did what teenagers do after prom. But yeah, it's like, yeah, sometimes you're like, oh, high school, prom, cheerleader, hotel, that's way too like by the nose. And like that was like, I like did, I like did it all. It was
like
great.
If you wrote it in a script, people would be like, that's.
Yeah, they'd be like, this is kind of
cliche. Boring.
Yeah. But yeah, cheerleader. And I wasn't an athlete at all. I just was like, I don't know. It was one of those things where like when you're charming in high school, when you're like nice to people, sometimes it works.
Were you a theater kid?
I was a kid who did theater, but like the theater kid, like kind of like, I guess like the theater kids that we see now, I wasn't like that. I was like more of a theater kid because I was like witty and like it was a cool extracurricular, and like I was fun.
You were like, I wasn't a lame theater kid.
I didn't want to say that, but like whenever in a post Glee world, you do have to explain that like you were like
PG.
Yeah, or that you were like well liked. Like I never got bullied by athletes. Also in a pre-Glee world, my friends, like my friend Christian, my friend Jerrod, like we both, all three of us, like did theater, but also got along. Like Christian was on the football team. Like my friend Ford, he was on the baseball team. Like they also did theater and like their like actual sports. So like there was not any this weird divide that I guess like is popular now because of like High School Musical and Glee, but like and I want to say like in 06 it was pretty normal. Well, because like those guys were charismatic and charming all the time. Of course they want to do theater.
I don't know.
Sure.
You're making so many assumptions about the way teenagers work. But I do think like when you came out or when you started dating men, did the girls that you hooked up with previously like think that you were totally gay or like did they?
I was like, so what happened is that I came out when I was, I want to say 20, and I was I was still doing theater, so I was in college, and like I hooked up with this one guy who like really was like, he had a crush on me, and I was like, oh, it's not that the feelings weren't reciprocated. It's just like I just wasn't thinking about him as much as he was thinking about me. And so that's true. That's mean.
No, that's normal. I get it.
Oh, gosh. Now, is that
That's
bad?
so fucked up of you.
Am I a terrible person?
Yes.
Okay.
Canceled. No. It's honest.
You can't cancel him.
People.
According to your latest special, I'm quoting at you. I'm so sorry. Not special. Your Don't Tell set. Yeah.
So he liked me, and we like made out one time, and then we like hooked up at a party, and kind of it was a party that was at his apartment because he had like the party apartment, and you know, like in college there's like, and so we hooked up, and like we continued to hook up because it was just like easy, but at the time I was also hooking up with girls, and so like so then people in the department found out that we were hooking up, and they were like, so what's going on? I was like, I guess I'm bi. And so many people were like, yeah. And then a few other people were like, no, stop hooking up with these girls. I was like, I'm not gonna, but good try. And so then I was never told I couldn't do both. It was like this weird kind of like understanding that like, yeah, I was hooking up with guys, but like I remember this one time there was this girl who worked at the gym at my undergrad, and she wanted to hook up with me and another guy, and I was like, oh, that's really
perfect.
Hot. That's so hot. And the guy was so hot. He's married now, and like I have to say this, one time he came over because we weirdly had like this like odd kind of like interaction where like we were gonna pregame and then go out together to, I guess, like hook up with girls. I don't know. So he came over to my apartment, and I'll never forget this. He and I were like drinking, and then he was like, I can do the splits. And I was like, no, you see it?
That's so
and I was like, no, you can't.
You can't, bro. Fucking prove it.
I was like, of course. I was like, you can't do that. And so then he did it, and I was like, why can't you do the splits? And he's like, oh, because of baseball. And I was like, sure. I was like, yeah, great.
Sure.
And so there was always this like weird energy where like he texted me, and I'd like it just like lasted a long time too. We never had like the threesome though. No.
Did you ever hook up with him?
No, it was only like these weird flirty text messages. Cause like me and that girl, like we would like sext, and we hooked up one time at a bar, and like it was like fun. And like we just never got all three of the pieces together at the same time for it to work out.
And he's married now?
Married.
What's his name?
What's his name? I won't give you his last name, but his first name is Troy.
Troy.
Hot name.
Listening to the podcast right now.
Theater kid name.
Hit up. Would you hook up with him now if he hit you up? If
Yeah,
he slid
100%.
in?
Is he married to a woman?
Yeah, he's married to a woman.
Okay.
I'd hook up with him and his wife. His wife's cute.
Fuck yeah.
I bet he's still thinking about you. I bet
while he's doing the splits.
He's like still ruminating on his bisexuality and has his little list of guys who's like almost happened with.
If you are listening, let's do it. It'll be a great story.
Yeah, Troy, I think you could open up your world.
No, I'm trying to.
That's so hot.
This is so fun. This is a theme. I watched the Lucas clip. Y'all love talking about MMF threesomes.
Oh my God, it has happened
you
much
brought
recently.
You brought it up this time. You brought it up.
You brought it up.
I was asking you about your bisexuality.
Did
Which
Ahmed talk
instantly
about
leads
you were
to
asking.
that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
We've had a bunch of like cis guys on in a row. And we've talked about threesomes with all of them.
Wait, who other than Lucas?
Ahmed Al-Qadri.
Okay, yeah.
Him. I think that was it. And then we didn't with Eric or Charlie.
Yeah.
I think that like the fear of like it being called gay is kind of like gone away. So I think a lot of cis dudes that identify as straight are now kind of being like, well, I mean, listen. Because there's also no world in which a man who actually thinks about it doesn't understand that like it is kind of the coolest thing for that girl. Like, cause it's just like, for me, don't you want to have to do less work? Also,
I feel like that's more work.
For the girl?
Yeah.
Well, no.
You have to deal with two dicks at the same time.
But it's less work for him.
Oh, for him.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess. Yeah. Less pressure.
Well, yeah.
For him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never had an MMF.
Ooh, why not?
I don't know.
What's the?
Well, probably because I'm scared of dicks.
Yeah, that's a big part.
That's a big one.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
It's 2/3 of it.
So many dicks.
That's
over 50%.
Oh, yeah, it's 66.6 repeating dick.
Oh, the devil's number. And that's why it's called the devil's threesome. That's a problem. It's a problematic term, though.
No. Why?
Oh, you don't think so?
I don't think so. Eiffel Tower, devil's threesome, they're fun. These are all in jest. No one's like.
Well, I wanted to ask you this because I feel like you're one of the only comics that I know that can both do like the cellar room.
Ooh, okay.
And like the alt Bushwicky whatever rooms.
So now we've transferred to like comedic bisexuality.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're comedically bisexual.
Yeah.
And it's so awesome. Do you like intentionally think about when you're writing, you're like, oh, this is how it would do in this room or this room, or how do you navigate those two spaces?
So the majority of the set stays the same. The majority of the jokes are the same. There are some tags and some kind of like offshoots of jokes that like I really love doing across the East River more than I love doing like in the village.
Across in which direction?
To Brooklyn.
Going to Brooklyn. Cause I live in
LA
Manhattan.
River.
Okay,
The LA River. Okay, so like if I have like a very specific tag that like is a bit insular, like I'm really probably only gonna do that at one of the Brooklyn shows. But then, I mean, I talk about my queerness, I talk about my bisexuality, I talk about a lot of stuff in both places. The big thing that I've noticed as far as difference is that now in Manhattan, sometimes you'll have some people who, like, if you say you're queer, they're kind of like, yes, and you're like, that's not, they won't go do that. In Brooklyn, enough time has passed. Now, if you say you're queer, people are like, And what else? There better be something after this.
You're not also non-binary.
Yeah. So like,
you get claps for that.
But even
non-binary.
But even I think the dichotomy is also a bit. I think it's. I don't think it's nearly as sharp of a divide as we think it is.
What
audiences are getting younger, audiences are getting cooler. I like am such a joke forward comedian anyway, that like even if they don't understand every reference, they're gonna understand kind of the music and like the style and the presentation and the delivery of my stand-up. Cause like I mean like there are moments when I kind of ask myself, oh, cause I still have to do this shit not just in Manhattan, not just in Brooklyn. I have to do this shit in Kansas City,
right?
Yeah, so I'm kind of like, I'd much rather people be able to enjoy it than go, oh, this is only for these people. Oh, this is only for these people.
Yeah, I'm making the divide between like Manhattan and Brooklyn. You're like, bitch, there's a whole other country.
You're like, yeah.
Like, no, it's just those two places, right?
I still have to like do stuff in like Wilmington, North Carolina. So, yeah.
Do you like, how analytically do you think about your stage presence? Because I know you're a theater kid, and like, there's nothing theater kids love to do more than like self-analyze how we're coming across on stage. So like, how do you think about like what you're bringing to the stage?
Well, I'm like super into presenting your jokes. Me and Gianmarco, who is one of my best friends, and I do love him.
Heard of him?
He's like we love Gianmarco.
We love him.
He's said, like, sell those knives. Like, even if the knives are dull or sharp, like, part of your job as a comedian is to be a salesman. And it works with both of our on-stage personas, even though we're kind of different, but, like, we both are high energy enough and, like, joke forward and joke dense, but also very presentational. Some people, they kind of are, they have just a different energy. And with them, I think that they kind of do have to process how to balance low energy but like high reward on some like kind of just like, you know, just like different stage presence. I am lucky enough that my stage persona is very close to my actual persona, like, so I don't have to do too much of a shift. Some people really have to shift, and for me that would be exhausting.
Yeah.
Some people really have to either turn it on or turn it off.
Who's someone that we would know who has like a big shift from stage to
I'm trying to think. You'd have to list someone. I can tell you what they're like off stage. Is there someone who you go, are they like that all the time? Who?
Mulaney.
I mean,
have you met him?
I've met him twice. The big thing I noticed about him off stage, he's just tall. He's taller than you think.
Wow.
He's just taller than you think.
So he's funny and handsome, and now you're telling me he's tall?
Yeah, go for it. But you're just
and a dad.
And a dad. I think Chris Rock is very different on stage and off.
Really?
Yeah.
What's he like off stage?
Chris Rock off stage is so chill. Because Chris Rock, he like has the Chris Rock you see on stage, but then if you meet him any other time, he's like such a kind of just normal, quiet. Recently, kind of like nonverbal social disorder. He kind of said that he's somewhere on the autism spectrum. He said that a couple years ago. But like, he is like so different than the Chris Rock you get on stage. 100% different.
What about Taylor Tomlinson?
Oh, she's very sweet. I'm trying to think. She's nice. She's pretty. That's her. Like thinking about it and thinking about how she was in between takes, and not to the audience, but like just to me or like just to the other comedians on the panel. That's her. That's very much her.
How was she? Was she friendly? Was
very
she like
friendly, professional, knew about me and my stuff. We have a couple mutuals, and I know her opener, Dustin. So she was very friendly.
Well, she always jokes about how she's like so socially awkward.
No, she was good.
But she's like,
She was good.
Yeah, I knew that's an act.
No,
that's not real.
Or she's got anxiety, but it's like
I think
I'm sorry, Taylor. I love you so much.
I think she does probably have anxiety about everything except for comedy. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You know those people who are like, please let me get on stage so I don't have to talk to people.
Yes.
And you're like, but you're talking to so many people, and they go, yeah, but that's different.
Yeah.
I would love that to be my anxiety.
What do you got?
I'm still so anxious about comedy.
Yeah.
And does that go away?
Yeah, has that gone away for
no.
you?
Cool.
Well, because for me, you just find different places to put it. So now at a certain level, you're not anxious about comedy because you're like, oh, comedy is great. But you get anxious about sales. You go, oh, how many have we sold? Okay.
Yeah.
Should I post again? Okay. Yeah, a story. I can do a story. I can't do it on the grid. That's corny. People are gonna a post. No, okay. I'll do a story.
Yeah,
it's like that sort of thing. And like even me, like I understand like there's like an inherent sort of like humiliation factor to being like, please come see me, please come see me. But part of the job is 90% of the job is please come see me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you balance the fact that like you can never be too cool to do this and like actually do it until you get so famous that people are like, I want to see you, and you go, yeah, lots of people do.
Yeah.
Like I was listening to Zarna Garg, who I think is like so brilliant.
Yeah.
And
this is some gossip. I was at Zarna's first open mic.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I was listening to her. What was she like at that first open mic? Was she good?
When was that?
2019, maybe 2018.
She's really new.
Yeah. So what happened is like, so she came down and she was telling jokes about like the invention of high heels, but like she casually was talking about like her kids and her husband and like the fact that she chose to do this at this point in her life, like casually kind of talking about the shit that we were like, wait, what? And so then I remember telling her, I was like, you have so much stuff about you that we don't even know. It's not that the high heel stuff isn't going to be interesting later on, but like, who the fuck are you? And I mean that in the most kind of genuine way possible and as a positive. I always think that like a comedian's first 2 specials, your first 2 album, your first 2 whatever is audience members going, who the fuck are you? And even on the second one they go, wait a second, but who the fuck are you again? I think I know.
Yeah.
And then like you have your actual fans, but for the most part, literal, like you can post there's a clip that went up, I want to say yesterday, and the majority of the comments are like, oh, this is so funny. And then there's always gonna be comments like, I've never seen him before. Who is this? I've never heard. Like, and like, so it's like one of those humbling effects where like I come and do y'all's podcast and you're like, Jay, you're so great. But like less than 24 hours ago, people were like, who is this? Who is this? He's kind of funny. Oh my gosh, who is this? Which is like, so
at every level, I feel like you have that, unless you're Mulaney or Chris Rock or
well, like
Seinfeld.
Well, the thing is, it never stops, which I like because I like comedic anonymity, because comedic anonymity and like basically that's like if you're anonymous in a comedy space, a crowd when you get on stage they go, who is that? And then luckily if things go well afterwards in a positive way they go, who the fuck was that? I really like that person. That's good, because like if they know you, they kind of go, you better be as good as like I've seen you.
Or they laugh at everything even if it's not funny.
Yeah,
because they like you so much.
Joel Kim Booster talks about that.
Yeah.
How like he can't trust people sometimes, and he's like done a really good job of like kind of like making an audience kind of like take that shit away at the beginning so he can really find out what's working. Because I've seen it happen for other people where I'm like, oh, you don't know what they like. They like you, but like cult of personality can kind of like poison good comedy writing.
Wait, I interrupted you when you said what you were scared of.
Anxious.
Anxious of.
Yeah, point.
Yeah.
Anxious.
What are you anxious about?
You're anxious right now.
Problem.
This feels so safe.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that, Ray? That's the meanest thing. We just met, and I think that's
just
poisonous.
Take me off the pod.
Yeah, Ray.
Jay's replacing me now.
What did it say?
You create your reality.
Whoa! The universe sent you that. You see how LA I am now? The universe sent you that.
I receive.
Good.
I'm anxious about the thing that I'm the most anxious about is it's 2 things. One is literally just like internalizing material. Like I'm about to tomorrow I'm going to Atlanta and I'm going to do an hour there.
Ooh.
And it's just like it's so much to remember, and that's just such a basic thing to be anxious about, but like, man, that's big. And then the other thing is I always get anxious that I'll let the anxiety take over my performance.
Ooh.
You know, because like I'm very aware of when things are not going great, and then I always get worried that anxiety is going to show, and then that's going to make the audience nervous for me and make it continue to not go great.
I am this is when people are going to hate me. I always flip it and go, man, I'm so lucky I get to do this. I'm so lucky I get to talk for an hour at these people.
Even if they hate you.
Yeah, I mean, if they hate me, I do also still have the microphone. That's the weird part.
Yeah.
Where it's like, comedy is one of those situations where a crowd could be like, we don't like you. And like, you with the microphone could be like, I don't care. Like that. Never in life does the power dynamic kind of resemble that. Usually it doesn't happen.
This is a fun exercise. We should bring comedians on and just tell them what we're anxious
Tell
about.
them our anxiety
with comedy
what are you anxious
and
about?
have them tell us.
What are
I
you
love this
anxious about?
concept.
With stand-up?
Yeah.
I'm anxious that I'll never be as good as I want to be.
Ooh. I mean, like, you want to know how you fix that? You can only... LA has changed me.
You've been here one day?
Yeah, I've been
how
here
many
one
days?
day. I mean, like, all last week too.
Yeah. For the fest.
But like, you are in control of that.
Yes.
That's the thing. Like, success, like, you're not in control of. You're not in control of success. You can like kind of like set yourself up for it, but like it's still very much like there's so many people who are like, and then just one day, bloop 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 bloop. I think that being good, does that mean like being good at writing jokes? Does that mean like being good at performing?
Both.
Does that mean being good at marketing?
Oh, mostly writing and performing.
Yeah.
I think I'm a strong I'm a stronger performer than I am a writer at my current stage in comedy. But I see people who write jokes so beautifully. Someone on this couch.
It brought Ray to tears.
And I'm just like, wow, I'm terrified I'll never get there.
No, I think joke writing is like a practice, but then it's also like an attunement to like whatever your comedy lens is. For me, I always can kind of be like, okay, this seems like this would be the parts of this thing. Like, I'm working on a new joke now where like at this stage of my career, the big question I get is like, Jay, you're pretty, you're doing well in comedy, but you're queer, you're pretty liberal. If it made you more famous, would you ever do Joe Rogan? They always say, Jay, would you do Joe Rogan? Would you do Joe Rogan? And my answer, yes, I would do Joe Rogan. I don't mean the podcast. I would fuck that man. Yeah, exactly. And that, the only reason I would do it is to show his fans sexuality is a spectrum. And because it's the most alpha thing you can do. And he would love it. He'd be like, this is some pretty alpha shit that we're doing right now. This is top tier alpha shit. And then the tag I had, I was like, yeah, he loves talking about bears, but let's talk about otters for a second. So that, you know, it's like that kind of stuff to me. I go, what's my POV? What's the expectation? What's like right now to me in comedy, it's way more taboo to actually bring up Joe Rogan than it is to bring up trans people because everyone's talking about trans people. Everyone's scared to say his name because he is like a kingmaker. He can like make your career. You wouldn't want to make fun of him. You don't want to talk shit about him. He can make your career. So to me, that's the real third rail, not trans women. Because everyone said shit. Everyone's been mean to trans women all last year and all the years before. But all last year, that's boilerplate.
I think I'm going to cut this into 2 episodes.
Great.
Yeah, I'm going to make 2 episodes out of you, Jay.
Whoa.
I'm going to do Jay Jurden part 1, Jay Jurden part 2.
That's on the bisexual theme.
Exactly.
Just bisect this episode.
Bisect it. So come back next week for the next episode of Jay Jurden. And yeah, fuck, you're a great Yenta.
Thank you.
Yeah.